Thank you very much, Sophia, for bringing your class here to make us the anchor people. And would like to thank very much Sean and company here for providing this opportunity to kind of educate us about some sensitive issues that usually we don't pay attention to. And it's a good opportunity. It kind of fits into the whole awareness we're talking about, question issues of biases, how they are becoming part of the endemic part of thinking. And this is a good opportunity for us to start paying attention to. So here is a documentary that this particular organization under the leadership of Sean is being presented here. So let us take maximum advantage of this. So I think first we are going to have a screening of the movie, of the documentary, and then we'll have panel discussions. Thank you very much. So
just take 2 seconds.
Yes, please.
So good morning, everyone. Good morning. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
If I step away from the mic, can you hear me with my pool voice? Does that work also? Which is better? The pool voice or the mic?
Full voice.
Full voice. Okay, full voice it is. Thank you so much for being here to allow us to come and show a film called Blacks Can't Swim. Really excited to do that on a number of levels. Certainly, we're celebrating Black History Month, and there is a historical context to this film. We'll explore a little bit of that, and we hope to be making a new history as a result of not only the film, but the work that we're going to be doing in the next decade. So just a teeny little bit about Swim Strong Foundation. We are a volunteer-based, not-for-profit, located here in New York City. We're 14 years young. We have hit a significant milestone recently. We've taught our 10,000th student to swim, which is wildly exciting. We have also given $1.3 million in free swim lessons to families in New York City, which is another big deal. So we're looking for volunteers both in and out of the water. In the water, we teach competitive swimming skills. So we are looking for those that have that type of a background. Out of the water, we're looking for those people with good research skills, social media skills, and also advocacy and research skills. So if you are interested at the end, please come and see me, and happy to carry on that discussion further. So I'd like to introduce you to Dr. God here is one of my panelists, and our Olympian, Mr. Pena, who I must have stepped out for just a moment, and I'm sure he will be back. So we will just let the film commence at that point. I will be addressing some questions to my fellow panelists, and then also opening it up to you on those specific questions for your comments and your thoughts. And then at the end, we will turn it open to you completely for anything that you would like to discuss that we haven't already done so. Ready to rock and roll? Yes. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. All right. Before we get into the discussion, I'll give you just a moment to meet our panelists. Let them introduce themselves to you. Dr. God, would you mind? Yes, full disclosure, it's just colored water. Nothing more exciting than that.
I thought it was a special St. John's Gatorade or something. I'm Dr. Gad. I'm a psychiatrist in New York. I specialize in addiction and trauma-related medicine. I'm also a Navy commander, which I suppose gives me some credibility, according to Sean, regarding swimming. So that's me. I'm a New Yorker, and pleasure to be here.
My name is Junior Jose Perez Peña. I'm from Dominican Republic. I've been in the country for 5 years already. I went to the Olympics in 2016. I competed there. So today we're going to be speaking about swimming. I hope everyone liked it. I hope we encourage you guys to start swimming, maybe to save your life or maybe for a better future, as you guys gonna see as we speak. Thank you for being here today.
So why are we here? We're here for a few reasons. One of which is the film touched on global warming and the fact that our water levels are rising, our storms are getting stronger. And for those of us who live here in New York City, we have the trifecta happening. Our waterfronts are being developed as never before in our lifetimes. So that is opening up all sorts of different bodies of what we call open water, natural water, to 9.5 million of us, many of whom have no idea about the nature of the different types of water, nor do we have the skills to safely and successfully navigate those waters. So our concern at Swim Strong is that our drowning rates and our water-based accidents will significantly rise. And we want to try to change that dynamic. So let's take a poll. How many of you here actually do know how to swim? Show of hands. A fairly significant number. Fabulous. How many of your parents know how to swim? Show of hands. Less. How many of your grandparents knew how to swim? Even less. Okay, so it was mentioned in the film that lack of swimming skills is a generational issue, and that is true, and it is borne out in the statistics as well. So it is important that we stop that. For Swim Strong, we started out being child-facing in terms of the work that we were doing in the community, and we discovered that many parents didn't know how to swim. So we opened it up for the adults, and we have now as young as 3 years old in the water up through seniors. I think my oldest student was 86 years young. Lives in the Rockaways, had a trauma as a young girl around the water, stayed away for decades. It was on her bucket list. I need to learn how to swim. I live 2 blocks from the ocean. I want to be able to, for whatever many days left in my life, enjoy where I live. And she does now. And she does, which is fabulous. So, do you know that on a global basis, a person actually dies due to drowning every 70 seconds? Every 70 seconds. For every person that dies, 5 more people are suffering life-altering brain and spinal cord injuries. Think about that for a moment. Drowning is actually a leading cause of death for children under the age of 5. Most of those children are dying in their own homes. Now, you might think bathtubs is a likely place, and you would be right. But how many of you thought about toilet bowls? Who knew it could be so much fun to throw your toy into the toilet and then go and retrieve it? Who knew? But a toddler between age 3 and 5, for a toddler, the heaviest part of their body is actually their head. If they get upended and we don't see them, they cannot right themselves. It only takes 2 minutes and 2 inches for any of us to drown, not just children. For children under the age of 14, drowning is the 2nd leading cause of death for us here in the United States. Can anyone guess what the leading cause of death might be? Oh, come on, you know it. No one guesses? Automobile accidents. Drowning is the leading cause of death for those in the autistic community. Autistic children are very attracted to water, often with tragic outcomes. So as upsetting as many of those statistics are, what perhaps is most shocking is to understand that 95% of those tragedies, 95% of those tragedies actually never have to happen. They are preventable. Imagine that. If we understood the nature of the water that we were looking at, if we had the skills, And if we use common sense and good judgment, we could avoid the situation that would put us in so much danger. And that's part of our mission now, is to get out and really raise the awareness of the importance of water safety for all of us, and particularly in communities where water safety and swimming are not embraced. So I'm going to start with some questions to our panelists. Allow them to answer the question. If you have comments or questions on that particular topic, please put your hand up. I think there's a microphone someplace. We'll get that to you, and you can chime in, and we'll continue in that way. So, Doctor, let's start with you. Is the phobia of swimming real for African Americans? And if so, what are some of the factors that drive that?
Right. Well, thanks, Sean. And again, it's great to be here. And thank you for this. You guys can hear me, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you have the mic because you're more soft-spoken. But he's pretty loud in the water. He makes waves in a different way. Again, thank you for being here. And let me state the obvious first. None of us are black. But this is about encouragement. It's not about judgment. And it's actually not even entirely a black thing. You know, the movies Blacks Can't Swim reminds me of White Man Can't Jump. But, you know, it's hyperbolic to make a point. But it's an Indian thing. My parents can't swim either. And nor can a few cousins of mine. It's a Dominican thing. It's a minority thing. It's a colonization thing at times. And that's where a lot of the psychosocial roots lie. There's also a biologic component, mildly touched upon, but it's not that significant with regards to bone mineral composition changes and differences and muscle density differences. It's just slightly more significant in black men and women. Heavier, rather. But the nature there doesn't outweigh the nurture. So, you know, the phobia is real, and it's ironic, actually, that any of us are phobic of the water at all. I mean, we all come from fish. We all were fetuses at one point. Well, we were all swimming in our, you know, evolutionary lineage. So it's weird that we have to relearn something we actually belong in. But, you know, that aside, the phobia is real based on statistics. In the black community, it's 70+% at times do not know how to swim. And much of that is related to the epigenetics. And what that term means is that the fear that I have is passed on to my daughter, and vice versa. And it continues in a funnel-like pattern where, you know, fear continues generationally. Introduced, of course, by slavery. You know, if you're subjugated, if a black person can't swim, he can't escape. And then it's propagated through subjugation after that, right? Pools discriminated against, clubbed if you even get near a pool. A writer by the name of Jeff Wiltsey documented this in a recent book that I heard about on NPR. Dr. Carol Irwin, another PhD, I'm an MD, but she spoke about this at the University of Memphis, big paper on blacks in swimming. So it's certainly real, and the first step towards treatment of anything is an awareness of it and a realization that it doesn't have to be this way. And we can talk about a lot of different reasons for people to chip away against this. But I think the biggest is that it's undoing fear. And if we can undo that, we can have a lot more fun, period, because fear generalizes. If you're afraid of one thing, you're likely to be afraid of another thing or be reactive to another thing later. So if we can do this for people, it's just going to be a lot more fun. So that's the long answer. I hope I've answered some of that.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have a thought or a comment as it relates to that? Please.
Listening to the film and just now what the doctor is saying, it makes a lot of, I don't know why, it makes a lot of sense, but I'm speaking from my own experience as an African-American woman and a mother. I can swim very well. I was taught to swim as a kid, not in New York City, even dominated. This is not something that is a focus because pools are controlled. So many of us are not in beach water where we're not in an environment where it's uncontrollable. And as a mom, despite what people think, I can swim well, I can float top, all that stuff, I still have a fear, and I do not allow my children to go to any body of water if I'm not present. That's just how I feel, and I don't feel that. And I think it's because I understand the nature of natural water versus a controlled environment.
Yeah.
So some of it is psychological, but the other aspect is your wisdom and knowing from experience. I don't think it's only because we're not exposed to it or you don't have that, because you're in a pool environment. New York City has a whole bunch of things that you get to go to every summer. But there's still a fear of not being able to control the environment. That's what I think is more about for us, is about the control of the environment as an individual swimming and as a parent.
Right, so you're referring to a healthy degree of fear, right? So, of course, water, to be completely fearless in water is also dangerous, right? Water is a very threatening place if you're in the open ocean with no potential of getting to where you need to go.
Wins all the time.
Sure. So this is about controlling the degree of fear versus, there are statements about Black parents clutching their children's hands at the very sight of a body of water, be it a placid pool or the one in Harlem or the one downtown in the West Village where kids are having fun. It's just ingrained in bone almost. So it's just about dialing that down.
So you feeling genetically, it's like
Yeah.
DNA for us to have fear
Yeah.
of water. So how did, as a doctor, from your research and all the things that you've done, how do you think that we're really going to overcome this fear?
By doing what you do, by learning it, by teaching it to your children, they're going to have less of it. There's no doubt. When they grow up and they have children, hopefully, right, they are going to be less likely to clutch as tight. They're going to be, and that's the nature of trauma, period. Every generation above us has been treated worse, period. Whether you're Black, LGBT, women, or, brown like me, it was always worse growing up, above our generation. And it continues to get better, believe it or not. So that's how we do it, by doing exactly what you do. I spoke with a Navy diver the other day, big Black guy. He's got 6 kids at home. I said, "You're perfect. I need to talk to you about this. I'm doing this panel. Chief, tell me." He's the sort of the highest rank of enlisted officers, of enlisted personnel. And I said, "You're a Navy diver. You're a big guy. What would you tell me to tell this audience as to why you have taught your kids to swim and why you are such a good swimmer? And how do you, go against these prejudices about bones and such, and rationalizations, I should say?" He said, "Well, what I've told my kids is that it was a way to limit us. Don't be limited by anything if you can help it." So I'm passing that on to you guys, and if you've got cousins or parents or friends and such to talk about Swim Strong, but there are plenty of organizations now that offer this service.
And I just want to jump on this point of the conversation around believing that this is really not an issue of color. It's a human issue. When I asked you about putting your hands up about your parents swimming, your grandparents, my parents learned at a late age to swim. My grandparents never knew how to swim. They came from Ireland and Scotland. And when they came to this country at the turn of the century, it was not conducive to swim. The weather was always cold and the water was colder. Cold and rainy and the water was always colder. And when they came here to this country, they were stepping into the Depression. So certainly there wasn't even money or resources available. Very much like we heard in the film. It wasn't a priority because my parents were working 12 hours a day just to put food on the table, right? So this, I believe, is a human condition that we kind of all share. But I think there are ways to step forward and move beyond that. So if you would address that, how can we move forward? You suggested to one of our guests about learning the skills, and therefore, you'll teach your children and you won't have quite that same grip on their hands, when you face the water again. What else can we do?
Well, the fear aspect aside, we can talk about global warming. We can talk about minority drownings. By the way, in New York City, there's about a handful every summer, usually about 10, and I hope it's 0 this summer, but of drownings in and around the boroughs, and it's always minority kids. It's always, every single one. And then there are these horror stories of uncles jumping into the pool to help their nephew, and they drown too. And it's just awful to hear this stuff. There's Katrina, right? There's all this fear of, the fear component, and we should swim because we don't want bad things to happen. But then there's the beneficial components. You know, we do this for health. We do this for fun. We do this to not be left on the beach while everyone else is in the water. We do this for opportunities, you know, that Johnny can talk about. We do this to be part of the planet, really. We do this to be a whole human being. The skills that you learn in the water translate to skills outside of it. So, I mean, those are the big reasons, and it's certainly possible. As far as actual treatment, no one's ever walked into my office and said, "Doc, I've got this fear of swimming. I think I need medication." Though it would be theoretically possible, because a phobia, like anything else, the treatment for that, I would first say, is let's talk about the elevator, let's talk about the plane, let's talk about the subway. We've done that. I've helped a lot of people with that. And when we hit a wall, I say, okay, let's try some more intense approaches. Let's try some medication temporarily so that you can get into the subway, get to work, get on a plane, and we'll try some innovative approaches. We'll use microdoses of natural antidepressants like lithium, or a temporary dose of an antidepressant. The long-term outcomes are better than the short-term annoyance of taking a medication, because then they can do things they were afraid of. So I'm not opposed to medicating someone who's phobic of the water, but we got to go through steps before that. So that's the micro and macro of it.
Anyone have an experience they'd like to share? Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Emanuela. I have 4 brothers, and my parents are at home. My dad knows how to swim, and all 5 of us know how to swim too, but my mom is really hesitant of swimming, and ironically, we have a pool in the backyard. It's an underground pool. It's like 10 feet is like the deep end, and I was just wondering how you can kind of like encourage or push an adult to swim, because like she always made sure that I knew how to swim, and my family's from Haiti, which is an island surrounded by water, and so like if that wasn't enough to like push her to learn how to swim, just like what can you do to like teach an adult or like encourage an adult to like swim?
Sean, you want to?
Sure, so I'll take that one. Thank you for asking. I have found that when working with adults who have fear, there's generally a good reason that they have fear. Something happened to them at some point in their lives. To be perfectly honest, I myself was a near drowning victim at the age of 5. Again. And that fear never goes away. So when I'm working with somebody, it's about having them understand that we are not natural in the water as we know our lives today. Earlier in our history, we were natural to the water. So our natural environment is being out of the water. Now we're thinking of going into a different environment. What are things that we need to do differently? How is that environment different? And to start bringing the person through, before we even put a toe in the water, some of those differences. Some of the ways in which we need to breathe, for example. Some of the ways in which we need to move our legs in the water. Some of the ways in which we need to lie in the water. Some of the things that we are going to be learning together in small steps to build that confidence, because ultimately it's about understanding you actually have control. Woohoo! I can control myself in the water. Once you understand that and you embrace that, it's a whole different ballgame, and you can then proceed with the learning with joy. And that makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for asking.
I actually want to add up that when I was little, my mom, she took me to the pool. She took me to take classes, and I was super scared. never able to get in the pool. They would every day have to grab me and throw me to the pool. I was always crying. They would just be holding me in the pool. Even if they were there, I was still crying. I spent like 2 years like that actually, and I was scared of going to the pool. I stopped going and I told my mom, look, I don't want to go anymore. Until I was a little bit older, still young, probably like 7. I decided to walk into the pool, and I just learned. And after I learned, I loved the pool. I'll start going to the pool every day, even just by myself. And sometimes it can be just that you're scared of the water or drowning. And it actually happened to me. I was scared of animals, thinking that there was even a shark on the pool if I was alone, and that's funny, but I was little. And you just gotta keep going and going. I liked so much the water that even that I was scared of being a shark, that there was no shark there, I used to still get in on the pool. And I was scared, but I wanted to be in the water. It takes time, but we can overcome everything as long as we wanted it.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, Commander. Hi, everybody. I agree to disagree because I was in the Navy as well, and I thought it was a lack. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a lack of. Sorry, I thought it was a lack of opportunity when I went to boot camp. The Navy taught you how to float. That was the most important thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but as my career progressed, I had a division officer or commander. He gave us an option. He said, hey guys, you could either run 3 miles or you could swim 1.5 miles.
Right.
Some of us were a little fearful because we did know how to float. But what he presented, an opportunity that we went to classes and we got introduced to it, and then we started to love it. So it really wasn't the fear. We just didn't have an opportunity. Or wasn't given an option, but the option was to learn how to swim, because ideally, I'm in the Navy. I should know how to swim. And my question to you, as a naval officer now, does a lot of the enlisted men know how to swim, or they still teach you just to float?
Okay, so I'll definitely answer that. And I want it to be clear, nurture outweighs nature. So the subjugation, the keeping people from the opportunity to swim outweighs any biologic fear and or density issues. So that's number one. And that's, I said at the beginning, if we were enslaving people and telling them that they can't read, you can't swim, and that's what's going to keep you exactly right here, then that's exactly what happened. So nurture, I agree, outweighs that. Opportunity is very important. That's why this organization, that's why I'm here on a work day, right? Is because I love this organization, that they're giving discounted rates to practically everyone and offering scholarships as well, improving opportunity for people who haven't had it. And that includes us too. So with regards to that second point, enlisted still are only being taught to float. And there's a lot of minority enlisted in the Navy. When I went and became an officer, in order to become one, you have to do a swim test. And it's a lot more than floating, right? There's lap swimming, there's tying stuff, there's simulated drowning, there's high dives. It's insane. That's how I learned to swim, by the way. When I was 7 years old, I was just angry that my cousins could swim. I didn't like these people. And I was like, I'm just going to jump off the high dive. I don't even want to swim. I just want to show you that I can. That's not how I would recommend people to do this, but it worked. No, I agree with you. And I think the opportunity is what we're trying to talk about here and improve. But, Johnny and I were speaking a couple of days ago, and I thought it was fascinating how the opportunity was presented and then you were afraid, and it was so different in your community as well as encouragement. And then this guy becomes an Olympian. I mean, that's just wild.
Actually, I want to mention that. So I'm from Dominican Republic. We're an island, just how she mentioned before that she's from Haiti. We're surrounded by water. We have many storms, there's many floods every year, hundreds of people drown. People still don't know how to swim, and no one is encouraging anyone to swim. And it's funny. I actually started to swim while I was growing up the thing that I will always get from people back when I mentioned I was swimming, it was, why are you swimming? That was what I always say. Stop swimming, go play basketball, go play baseball. Stop swimming while you're swimming, stop wasting your time. Since I was little, I said I wanted to go to the Olympics. I saw Michael Phelps on the TV and I said I want to do that. So it didn't matter what I say, but then some of my family told me, oh, when you're going to stop swimming, stop swimming. No one encouraged you to swim there. Even though you needed it, even though it's going to save your life. They didn't have the passion, they didn't have the thought that I have for it. I saw something. I wanted to go to the Olympics. I wanted to learn swimming, so I did it. I saw the opportunities they could bring to my life. I thought, if I swim good enough, I can leave my country and move to USA. I can get a scholarship. I moved here, I learned the language, I swam good enough, went to the Olympics, came back, got a scholarship, and went to school, had education. They never saw that. Never. How they were saying about the minorities, this is in DR, the Dominican Republic, we probably have less than 20 swimming pools, and we're around 10 million of people, and we're surrounded by water. That's incredible when you think about it. And most of the people that have access to this pool is actually the rich people. It's normally on expensive clubs, sport clubs. You know, if you want swimming classes, you have to pay for the club, pay for the swimming classes. It's something that we all should know because the world is surrounded by water. But they're making it so expensive and so hard. They're closing the doors, closing the opportunities when we should all learn how to swim. Just for ourselves. You can go to the pool with your kids, with your parents, with your friends and enjoy it besides being, on the wall, holding yourself because you're scared. It's sad when that happens,
Now, just to address for one moment the cost factor around swimming, because it is very, very expensive. And if you think about how much it would cost to just build a swimming pool. And by the way, did you know that St. John's has a swimming pool?
Did.
I swam in it. It's covered over now. Is it underneath the basketball court?
No, Jim. In the big
How do we get that back? So it's very expensive to build a pool. It's very expensive to maintain a pool. It's very expensive to staff a pool. So you can understand why it translates into being expensive to get swimming lessons. In New York City, lessons cost about $1 a minute. Think about that, $1 a minute. So programs like ours, we are under market rates for those that can afford to pay, and for those that can't, we have the scholarship fund. So we traditionally give about 38% of our classes at no cost to those families that need the help. This year, it was 47%. 47%. So the only way we can do that is by getting support, and we do get some support from our elected officials, some corporate support, some foundation, grant writing, etc. And then people like you and I who see the value of swimming and put our hands in our pockets and make a donation. That's how we cover the cost of those swim lessons. But everybody should be, to your point, sir, about, the opportunity should be there for people to swim. And if an organization like ours can take down the two biggest barriers, which are affordability and then accessibility, if we are near enough for you to get to us, why are you not taking advantage of that? And I have to ask you, if you're not swimming now, and you had that opportunity, would you? And if not, and you're comfortable to share why you still wouldn't, I'd love to hear it.
My name is Kayla. I think part of trying to understand the issue and then you spoke about moving past it, you have to understand where it came from. It is a systematic issue that deals with race and class. And I think for a lot of minority communities, there is no value in it because Yes, you have, in the past, you have the don't swim when you're enslaved and those things of those nature, but you also have how does this help our family? Like, where is the value in this to make it out of where we are? And I think that the issue of not swimming is racial. It's a lot of factors that go into that. And I think being able to really understand that, to be able to really hear what people are saying when they say that my family or my mom or my grandparents don't swim, can understand the issue. And while accessibility is great and affordability can be great, it's still like if somebody doesn't see the value in something, they're not going to take advantage of it. Or if you've been told for so many years that you cannot do it, then the time that somebody's telling you you can do it, you still may not take them up on that offer because you and your family have been beaten down for generations to do something that is harmless, essentially, at the end of the day. So I think understanding where the problem originates will help with a proper solution to the problem.
Kayla, thank you for raising that issue. At Swim Strong, we have graduated over 200 lifeguards from our program. Lifeguarding is a very responsible job. It's a job that's fairly well paying as well. And it's a job that saves lives. So we have over 200 of our students that are now working primarily for the Parks Department and other organizations. We also have a partnership with the U.S. Coast Guard and the Navy and the Marines to help their recruits who cannot swim because they have to pass a swim test in order to get into those branches of service. So we've had 36 now, young men and women able to enter service because they've learned the swimming skills that they needed. We also have just recently opened a program to honor our veterans. So we provide free swim lessons to our veterans in thanks for their service. So we are a conduit for first responder work, not only in the military, but we have about a dozen NYPD officers now, 16 FDNY officers, and another 7 EMT members, all having come through Swim Strong and still using those skills. So, Kayla, to your point, if you don't understand why, we can show you the reasons why. Swimming gives you the opportunity not only for safety, health, enjoyment, competition, but opportunity to improve not just your life, but your family's life in using the skills that you achieve. Thank you for asking the question.
Look, Johnny, you can talk about the opportunity you got from swimming in that process.
Well, I want to mention that I started at a young age. I never thought I would travel or stuff like that, of course. As I was growing up, the first time that I traveled to compete, I was around like 13 or 14. I went to Aruba. Thanks to swimming, I managed to travel over 20 countries at no cost, because swimming was paying for it. It would pay for me to go to another country and compete. Thanks to that, I got the scholarship. Thanks to that, I actually got the job, because I walked to an office on my curriculum, they see that I'm an Olympian. It's not going to get me the job, it's my education, but my education was thanks to swimming. But then they say, oh, he's an Olympian, he has work ethic, he's professional, he will be always here on time, he's persistent. Besides that, I want to mention, I used to have this friend back in the army, still my friend. When we were little, this guy, this black, he would be going home, and I knew that sometimes he wouldn't have food. He wouldn't have food at his house. If I asked you, do you think that this guy managed to travel? He did. You guys would say no. Just tends to swimming. He got good enough that he started traveling. He got a scholarship back in the army school. Even that doesn't happen, there is one school in the whole country to do that. So someone that went from not having food at their table just because they start swimming and they like it, they managed to travel around the world. And they're right now studying that they're going to finish their degree. They're going to get a job thanks to that, just because they decided to go to the pool.
Yeah. And by the way, there are 3 Black Olympic swimmers, only 3 in U.S. history. The last one was 2008. She won a gold medal, Cullen Jones. So there is that figure there. I don't know why more people don't know about her. Even she said no one. Well, Simone Biles, she's a gymnast.
Oh.
I'm talking about Cullen Jones, the Olympic swimmer, and she's a sprinter. And by the way, you were also saying that because of this density issue, we see more competitive swimmers in the short distances.
I actually want to mention too that he winning that medal, he opened all our minds. Me coming from another country, my friends coming from another country, my black friends. It was amazing to see a black guy go and win the medal because you don't see that.
Yeah.
And how she was mentioned before, another woman, black, she won gold medal in Rio. You know, it doesn't happen often when everyone thinks, oh, I'm black, I cannot be as fast as a white person. But in DR, the best swimmers are black, and they're less than the white swimmers. There is a less amount of us, and they're actually better. You go to Bahamas, the best swimmers there are black. You go to Suriname, the best swimmers there are black. And there are white swimmers there. But the black ones are the best ones. Some of them are at the same level as the American ones, the white ones, just swim. So it's sometimes it's just about the mind and how you saying the genetics is true. They, a black person, because of their genetic, they will build muscle faster. Muscle makes you heavier, but you can use that as an advantage. That's why he won the medal as a sprinter. If you have more muscle, you're more powerful, you're gonna be quicker. So you're gonna go and race on a 50 meter, 100 meter, you're gonna be faster than a white person who has less muscle. If you start, just seeing races in long distances, you don't see a white person, you only see the white ones. Because of the muscle. But when you actually think about it, they have the advantage. It's not an advantage, it's not a disadvantage. Start watching all the sports. In every sport, there is more black persons because they are better at sports. Why swimming has to be the difference? Just use that as your advantage. Go to sprints. They have a disadvantage. They don't have that much muscle. They have to go and train more because they're going to have to go and do the mile and the race.
So the value is measurable in money, it's measurable in medals, but one way I don't think it's measurable is in freedom. By learning this elemental skill, you're free. You're free from fear of anywhere to go. With driving, that's another skill. That's the next skill we learn. You get a license for it. You get the freedom to move around the country, but this is a different kind of freedom, I think, and it's a deeper one.
I shared with the doctor that I had been working with a woman who was afraid of swimming, and she also shared that she was afraid of flying. And then I started to think, well, I wonder how many more people are actually have multiple fears, not just one fear. So it's not all that uncommon, to see the fear connecting on other levels as well. Did you have a question or comment?
I was just curious about, we were talking about the lifeguards.
Lifeguard?
About the lifeguards. For example, if someone was interested in it that wasn't going to participate in any government or like the Navy or anything, police officer, National Guard, anything, how can they go about really learning something to become a lifeguard?
So it starts with the basic skills, and then it's building on the skills and getting to a place where most of the lifeguards do come out of a competitive environment. Not all, but many do, because you're training and you have stamina and you have speed, and those are required to pass basic baseline tests, even to qualify to learn to be a lifeguard. So it's definitely doable, but it's like anything else. You have to work at it. Learning to swim is not easy. It is a skill, and it's not like flipping a light switch on and off. It takes work, but it's fun. It's fun.
Part of it, the follow-up. Out of those 200 lifeguards, how many of them are minority or African American?
I'd have to think about that, but I can tell you for sure, in Far Rockaway, where we have run a program, virtually all of them were. And so it is a high number. I just couldn't, with confidence, give you the exact number.
This has a stat where 20% of their graduates are African American. So I guess if you could extrapolate it, you get about 40.
I'm talking about the lifeguard.
Yeah, numerically it'd be about 40 of those 200 on average.
Thank you.
Oh, I had another question. Sorry, Andre, Commander. So if I had to make an assessment, and that's also to your program, we should be educating our elementary school kids.
Yes.
So that leads to my question as taxpayers, and you guys are taxpayers as well. Why isn't the government solicited to say, hey, this is so important, global warming, it's a possibility that they may need to learn how to swim later in their life. We pay taxes, incorporate this curriculum in elementary school, which will create an opportunity, and then possibly the next generation can learn how to swim. That's on our time.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a Frederick Douglass quote, and that quote is, "It's easier to strengthen a child than to heal a broken man." And so, of course, we invest early on in anything in childhood education, and we get dividends far greater later. But try talking, sense to the lobbyists who talk to Congress, who make the laws based on the lobbyists who pay them to. So, public schools are being stripped right now. But we have a chance in November to fix that, right?
I will also say, though, that there are some programs out there. So the Parks Department, for example, they do work with the public schools, not all of them, but some of them, to help their second graders learn very basic swim skills. The reality is that New York City, for being this premier global city, is a desert when it comes to aquatics, period. If you understand, there are 9.5 million of us here, right? There are not enough pools, even if we had the political will and the financial will to be able to train everybody. There's not enough swim pools to do that. There are not enough instructors to do that. So we have to make a change to invest in the infrastructure that will help us to provide the swimming skills, as you rightfully suggest, at an earlier age for all, opportunity for all. One of the things that we've recognized is that as much as we want everyone to learn how to swim, it's just not feasible given where we are at the moment, right? So we created a program called Know Before You Go, and it's water safety, and it relates to the nature of water. So it's not about swimming skills. It's about helping you understand that a pool is different from being in the ocean, is different from being in the river, is different from being in a lake, is different from being in a stream. So that we understand we meet water from the moment we wake up in our own homes to many places that we go out of doors. If we understand the nature of that different type of water, we can make decisions that keep us safe around it. Because nobody goes to the water and expects a bad outcome, right? Those 3 boys in the end of October that went to the Rockaways, maybe you will remember this. 3 boys came out to the beach for the first time. Our water is still reasonably warm. The temperature, amazing. Again, global climate change, right? It was one of those freak hot days, the end of October. The 3 boys went, they knew they didn't know how to swim. They knew nothing about the beach. It was their first time. They look at the water, they think it looks fine. Well, how would they know it looks fine or it doesn't look fine? Maybe if they saw a wall of water, like you would see in a tsunami, they might say, maybe it doesn't look so fine. But otherwise, how would you know, right? So there they go. They wander in. I'm sure they didn't even get past their calves. They got knocked off their feet and swept out. Why? Because fall is hurricane season. And the winds whip up the water, so the chop is significantly stronger, and the current is much, much stronger. And even though we didn't have a hurricane sitting on our doorstep, there was one happening down in Miami. And guess what? We were feeling the results of that. So as it happens, 4 surfers saw the boys being swept out, they were able to corral one and get the one boy back to shore. The other two friends, they found one of them 6 days later and the second boy on the 7th day. Again, nobody goes to the water expecting a bad outcome. We need to understand water very differently today. We need to know water safety in the same way that when we get into our automobile, we know we have to buckle up. I cannot even imagine what my great-great-grandchildren's relationship with the water will be. I can't imagine it. It's going to be so different. We need to start the education process today in order for us to be safe in the future.
They might have fins, the way it's.
Maybe. It's very possible. So that brings us to another question about other benefits for swimming. Right? Not just the safety. We've talked a lot about the safety, of course, on the gloom and doom.
No, well, I took Sean's heart rate earlier. It's like 48. Swimming, no. It's the best cardiovascular, low impact exercise, period. Look at this man.
I actually want
Seriously.
to mention I have had 2 knee surgeries.
Killing my argument.
I didn't know, but I want to mention that wasn't because of swimming. One of the things to actually recover, to learn how to walk, it was actually swimming.
Yeah.
Swimming brought me back to walk, run, jump. I'm just 5'11", but I can jump and grab the ring just like that. But it was thanks to swimming that I managed to recover from my surgeries. It wasn't the surgeries didn't happen. So slow impact.
No, it's definitely one of the things I recommend to my patients all the time. You know, I mean, I think the reason Indians do so much yoga is because they couldn't get to the pool as much. But it's kind of the same thing. So
That's Zen.
yeah.
That's Zen.
No, you try doing a few laps, especially the way you guys train. They're not just teaching people to swim with a little s. I mean, they're teaching them to go back and forth at proper speeds with different strokes. Sorry, I had to, again with that. Anyone else get that? Okay.
I want to mention that swimming actually helps your body and your mind. People sometimes don't see this, but sometimes you can be stressed at your house, from work, or you go, you exercise a little bit, you can, just let the mind run while you just swim. It helps a lot for the stress.
How about any of you sharing some benefits that you may have personally have found from swimming? Please.
I mean, I like the beach. Hi. The beach is fun. I just feel like that's a good thing to do with your kids and stuff. They moving together. That's all.
So the social aspect of swimming was great.
I can mention actually, most of my friends, they are actually swimmers. So we will go to the beach all the time. I lived in Florida for 4 years. It was amazing. It will happen that sometimes we will go to the beach and there will be one friend who didn't know how to swim. And it's kind of sad because he's sitting on the sand or in the shore. Meanwhile, all of us are in the pool, in the deep water, just playing around and stuff. You feel left out when you're that guy. It doesn't feel right.
Best cardiopulmonary total body workout, bar none. It is the only activity that literally we can do from womb to tomb. Womb to tomb. I'm a whole lot closer to the tomb side of things now, myself. So I love getting in the water. It rejuvenates me. When you find someone who has been swimming virtually all their lives, an older person, and you ask them how old they are, most of them will tell you because they're so proud that they look nowhere near their age. They often look 20 to 25 years younger than their age. It is the fountain of youth. And so we should swim for our lives. because there is no better exercise for our health. As again, we get older, there's no impact on our bones in the same way. Like I used to play semi-pro volleyball. I can't do that anymore. But I can swim.
I can say that probably your teammates that play volleyball, they can swim. But because you're a swimmer, you could play volleyball. You can swim and do every sport, but you cannot do all the sport and then try to swim. And I mean with that, you can ask her, let's do this, and they, okay, way fast, let's go to the pool. You might be like, oh, I can't.
So I'm going to jump on that for a moment, and it has a question for you. So I used to do some of these charity events where athletes would come out to raise money for whatever the event was, and they would participate in an event that was not theirs, right? So many of them chose swimming. And I cannot tell you how many times I had to dive into the water and lift them up off the bottom of the pool because they got in and they sunk like a stone right to the bottom of the pool. And when I finally dragged them out, I would ask, what on God's green earth prompted you to do a swimming event? Obviously, you can't swim. And they would look at me to a person and they would say, I'm an athlete. Yes, but you can't swim. Just because they're an athlete, they think they can do anything. And by the way, they were all men.
My dad did this once, actually. He did. He went to Action Park. You guys have heard of this place? All right, there's a documentary about this place. You should watch it. I lived this stuff. We would go to this amusement park in New Jersey, of course, every summer, and they had an amazing, Action Park. They had this amazing water park as well as other stuff. But this story is about my dad who was standing on a 30-foot cliff jump. We're in line, and I've already jumped. I'm down at the bottom. I'm like, see you later, Dad. I'm going to jump off this thing. And then we're swimming, and I hear the lifeguard say, some a-hole just jumped off the top and doesn't know how to swim. And of course, that's my dad, and they rescued him. And later I said, well, what are you doing? Why would you do that? He said, well, I just asked him, to the lifeguard, you know how to swim, right? And the guy's like, yeah, don't you? He's like, no. But
see ya.
Yeah. So the thrills.
What is that, though? So statistically, men drown at 80% to women 20%. And from the ages of mid-teens through mid-30s. Why are males risk-seeking missiles?
It's evolution. Yeah, big time. I mean, it's... we got confidence, we have compassion, we have courage, right? It's often there's an imbalance with men. The courage is a little too greater than confidence.
So, ladies, would you agree that it's the courage?
Well, I put it, gently.
Nicely, yeah. I have a different.
Well, it's the same with car accidents, but I think we want to use that courage to help others, right? That's real masculinity is protection and encouragement. It's not abuse and it's not risk over benefit.
But I do think it is the elephant in the room in terms of, we all know that bad things can and in fact do happen to other people until it happens to us, right? So how do we, maybe it is a little bit part of our DNA, and I was, to be, again, transparent and honest, I was the wild child. So I was the girl that was doing everything the boys did and then some, okay? So what is that about us? What is in our DNA that puts us in a situation where we know we're in trouble? We're going to be in trouble, but we still push it. Why do we do those things?
You mean like the frog in the boiling water, where we know we should do something and still avoid it? Yeah, I mean that's fear, right? I mean we're doing that right now with regards to global warming, because we can avoid it until the danger is right at our door.
Sometimes I want to say, at least on my case, we don't like to have fear. And some of us, we have the courage to try to fight that fear even when we're not ready. And that might have happened to your dad. Maybe he was looking at the thing, he wanted to do it, but he was kind of scared because he didn't know how to swim until that day he told himself, I'm gonna do it even if I'm scared, even if I'm not ready. So he went there, he jumped, he wasn't ready, but that happens. Sometimes we're scared of something, we find, the courage that day to do it, we might not be ready and we still do it. That's why we put ourselves in the bad spot. Sometimes we should think about it more. Maybe he could have been like, oh, let me learn how to swim and then I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah. What changed for you when you were 7, right? Eventually, you were screaming for 2 years. I don't know why they kept bringing you to the pool, but
Not something Swim Strong would endorse, by the way.
but it changed, and then you fell in love with it.
Did fall in love with it. I still swim. I'm gonna keep swimming and I hope I swim until I die. I really like it. I enjoy it. And it's good for your health. Like, you guys should swim for your health, just for the joy. And you never know. One day you can be the one that saves someone else at the pool. One day you can be just there sitting. Your dad jumps. Who knows who is drowning? Because you know how to swim, you're gonna save someone. On that day, you're gonna feel awesome. You might feel that you have never accomplished something, but that day is gonna be like, wow, I saved someone. How many people have saved others? Just because you learn how to swim. You learn how to swim today, you will still remember 20, 30 years later. You will always know how to swim. You learn how to run, you always run. You will never forget it.
Johnny, would you share a little bit about some of your experiences becoming an Olympian? An Olympian is an elite world-class athlete, all right? There are not many of them. They're few and far between. So could you share some of the experience that you had and now even thinking about how those apply in your daily life today? What have you taken from the pool?
Well, I want to say first was actually being persistent, being tough. You gotta be patient in life. You want so many things, you want it to happen today, but sometimes it just don't happen today, it might not happen tomorrow. But you gotta keep trying and trying. While I was trying to go to the Olympics, I traveled to many countries just trying to compete, just trying to qualify. I failed. I failed many times. Many times I stopped swimming, meaning I left practice. I was like, I'm not coming back. This is not working. But sometimes you gotta just believe in yourself, or at least someone in your life had to believe in yourself. I have someone that believed in me. He brought me back to the pool. I kept trying. I use this on my life right now. When I try something, even if I go to a job interview, I get rejected, that's not gonna beat me up. I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna try tomorrow, try in a week. I learn from that. Every time that you fail, you are failing because you're learning. You just gotta sit down, see what you did wrong, learn from that, improve it, try again. Keep trying. We all can be successful, not in the same ways, but in different ways. You just gotta keep trying.
So it taught you resilience, but it reminded me of the story you told me about lining up and coming into a pool and seeing other teams.
So, I'm from the Dominican Republic. There is not that many of us. I can use this hand. This is the amount of Olympic swimmers coming from the art that have gone to the Olympics. I'm one of them, 5 in the whole history. When you think about it, 5. So it happens that I will travel to China, to Italy. I'll walk with my friends, my Dominican teammates. We'll walk into the pool. We're only 6, 7 people, 3 people, with a flag here. We walk into the pool. We see the other teams, United States, we see Australia, they have 40 people. You feel like less. Even if you're not trying, you feel like less. You feel that you're in the wrong place. You tell yourself, you're like, am I allowed to be here? Like, do I deserve to be here? But slowly you start learning that you deserve to be there because you are there. Not everyone gets there. It don't matter where you're from. I'm actually undersized to be a swimmer. Regular good swimmer, fast swimmer, normally would be like 6'5". So imagine me, 5'11", walking to the pool, walking to my block. I look to the side, and I have this guy that is huge. How I'm gonna feel? Feel like less. It happened to me. I went to Spain. I was competing with these guys on the same heat from London. I normally like to shake the hands of the people next to me. It's just my thing. One of them didn't want to give me his hand. He was from London. I know he did it because his brother was this guy. He's from the Dominican Republic, but I don't know how to swim. That was my motivation. I used to use being small, being from another place, my motivation. For the moment that I win, they will say, "Oh, how did this guy do it?" I'm doing more than them. I worked harder than them. I ended up beating that guy, even though he's coming from London. He has his whole team there. I won. And that feels great. That reward right there is amazing.
We can't top that. I think we should just end right now.
Any other comments from the audience, questions that you may have? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to discuss this issue that I don't think most of us have paid attention to. And so this is a wonderful opportunity to educate ourselves on things that are around us and we don't get a chance to look at it critically. And thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for your generosity in sharing your experiences, your time, your ideas. And I'm sure it has been valuable to all of us here present. And a special thank you again to my colleague here, Mr. Sophia, Professor Passos, for anchoring this event into your class. Okay? Thank you so much. And also thanks to my professor, my colleagues, the journalism students are here, so they may write all the story as well. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
Gentlemen, it's a great story.